I have a strange hope that we're going to be seeing a lot of red in these stadium in State Farm Stadium this year.
Well, it's true. The Cardinals are in the basement of the division.
That's obvious.
And I think everyone can recognize that. So what do you have to do to get out of that basement? I think Algier is a great pickup for the Arizona Cardinals just because you can rely on him. The guy does not fumble. Almost 700 carries in his NFL career. He's never fumbled once. I'm going to tell you why offensive linemen love Jacoby Brissett.
Let me hear it.
And he'll go again. And this is intercepted. And it's Rob Fredrickson. He's taking it off the end zone. Touchdown, Arizona.
Welcome back to the Seeing Red podcast. This is episode 10. I'm your host, Cade Fredrickson. Along with me, my co-host, Rob Fredrickson, first-round draft pick in the 1994 NFL Draft. 9 years in the NFL, 4 years with the Arizona Cardinals. Make sure, if you're not already, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Seeing Red Podcast. Give a like to this video and comment down below. We have a request from you guys. We're trying to really bring the best content out to you guys currently, and we're looking for guests. So throw down in the comments right now before you continue to watch this video some guests you want to see on the podcast. And we'll try our hardest to get that guest or, whoever we can.
Realistic guess.
Realistic.
We're not going to get Roger Goodell on here.
No, yeah. We'll try and shoot for someone like Fitz. But, seriously, guys, comment down below because we're in a rough period right now. We need to bring the best content out to you guys. And we think bringing someone on will help us do that. So make sure you guys do that. And, again, subscribe to the podcast here on YouTube. Quick little overview. We're going to kind of go over free agency a little bit more. We're going to kind of dissect where the Cardinals are at and where we're going to kind of end up here in the draft. And then I kind of want to talk about really the biggest thing, Strades, is Kyler Murray being gone. Number one has been taken by linebacker Malik Willis. What are your initial thoughts on that?
Well, I think maybe for some context, when I was playing in the NFL, that was just a non-starter, right? A linebacker wearing number one. That just wasn't going to happen.
No.
You wore a number in the 50s or in the 90s as a linebacker. And every other position group had those same kind of barriers. They had certain numbers they were supposed to stay within.
Right. Well, there's been some rule changes in the NFL back in April of 2021. You saw that all these number changes, receivers can wear 1 through 49 and 80 and 89. Defensive backs were allowed 1 through 49. Linebackers 1 through 59, 90 through 99. And then March of 2023, the league brought back the number 0, except for offense and defensive linemen. Punters and kickers were also authorized to wear 0 through 49 and 90 through 99. So, yeah, big shifts in number changes since you played.
Why did they make those changes?
For me, maybe it's a more current thing, an up-to-date thing. It's an aesthetic thing, I think.
Well, no, the reason why they made all those changes was because the expanded practice squads.
Well, yeah.
There was more players on the roster, more players on the team, so they had to open it up a little bit because if linebackers, say, are limited to the 50s, well, so are the offensive linemen.
Right.
And so pretty soon, you only have 9 numbers in the 50s, or 10 numbers in the 50s. And so, those numbers evaporated real quick. So I understand why they made those changes and opened it up. But I don't know. I'm not trying to get off my lawn guy, but I still don't love seeing like a linebacker wearing number 1. It's visually, I can't get it. I get what you're saying.
It's an aesthetic thing.
The aesthetics of it. Number 1 is way more sexy than number 59 or 53. I get it. Those were my numbers when I came into the league. But I understand it. And, like I said, when I came into the league, I didn't even request a number. I think I was just happy to be on a team. Yeah, right. And, I go into the locker room, and there's the locker. It's number 53. Okay, I guess I'm wearing 53.
Yeah.
And then I got traded to Detroit. 53 was open. They gave me 53.
There you go.
I became a free agent, signed with the Cardinals. 53 was taken. Mark Maddox was wearing it. He was a linebacker, came over from the Buffalo Bills a couple years prior, and so he was wearing 53. I didn't really care, to be honest with you. So they gave me 59. Sure, I'll take it.
Now they do player negotiations now. Like you'll see other players, buy numbers from other players. Did they do that back then?
Yeah, absolutely. You could go to a player and say, "Hey, I've been wearing 53 my whole career. I'd really like to wear 53. Mark Maddox, what would it take for me to get 53 from you?" And players do that all the time. And some players charge or ask for a hefty penny, and some players will pay that because it's that important to them. I always took the mindset of the number's really not that important to me. When I'm out there running around, making a tackle or doing whatever I'm doing on the field, I'm not thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm not wearing 53. What am I going to do?
Yeah, it's not it's not the first thing you're thinking.
It's the last thing that I would ever think of, and so it wasn't important to me at all. So I never even went to Mark Maddox and even asked him. I could care less. So I wore 59 as a Cardinal, and it's everybody's different though. Some guys are very superstitious and they got to have their number, and so it can get expensive though.
I'm just a quick little side topic. How's your sciatic? Everyone knows that you're going through it right now. How are you feeling right now? Are we better? Are we the same? Are we worse?
Yeah, no, it's not good. But that's all right. We're gonna get it handled here in about a week from now, and get surgery and hopefully get it taken care of. But
okay,
we're gutting through it.
Okay,
Strays, it's what we got to do. It's a big ball game tonight. That's more on my mind, really. The Spartans are playing tonight. UConn. In the comments, if you comment on the game, obviously this is going to get released a couple days from now. So hey, if things go well, let's hear about it.
Yeah.
If things don't go well, keep your trap shut.
Yeah, we beat them in hockey yesterday, so 2-1. So
that's right.
And then we play them again in basketball. I'm seeing the stars align a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's see it. Let's bring it tonight.
Go green.
Go white.
Yeah.
But what's really got my attention as of late, and I really want to discuss it with you and we can dissect it. The Cardinals received dead last roster ranking, and, I said it last week. I think that's very on par.
After free agency. After the frenzy.
No, yeah, right. Yeah, after that little frenzy. That's very on par for our brand, and that's kind of what we expect from the Cardinals. Now, what are your thoughts on that dead last ranking before we kind of keep going into this?
Yeah, so I mean the roster ranking, kind of the power ranking.
Yeah,
that include that it's through free agency or this period of free agency. Free agency is still going on. You could You could conceivably sign players all the way through training camp. So free agency is still going on, but that first initial wave, that frenzy. So it included that, and then it also included the current roster as it's structured, as it's set right now, and through that power poll, the Cardinals were ranked last. Now, kind of a counter argument to that, there was an article that came out by Ben Solak from ESPN, and he had the Cardinals through free agency after kind of the frenzy. He had the Cardinals kind of in the middle of the pack. Okay, and I'm going to read a couple of things, just kind of what he said, and then we can kind of dissect it and talk about it. But he had the Cardinals at 16th with key acquisitions: Isaac Seumalo, Tyler Algier, Gardner Minshew, Kendrick Bourne, Roy Lopez. We've already talked about all that. What he loved the mid-level deals. Right, the Cardinals got solid value for Seumalo. Who is better player? He's a better player than high-paid free agent guards like Ed Ingram and Zion Johnson. He's just older, and thereby he's less attractive on the open market. So the Cardinals got a really good deal there. They got a solid starter with great PFF rankings, both in the run and pass protection. So I really think Seumalo was a good pickup. And then he also mentions he's surprised that we went after Algier. Because he's got kind of the same skill set as James Conner, but we all know James Conner's coming off of a devastating injury, right? And so nobody really knows the availability of James Conner and what, if he is available, what will be his performance level. Will his performance have dipped? Will it have gone down? Is he still able to be the James Conner that we all know and love? Or is he going to be a different back? And you just don't know those things, and especially a running back on the other side of 30, things can kind of look differently. So I'm not really surprised about the Algier signing, but he is. And what he didn't love was the plan at quarterback. And he says, I guess the Cardinals checked in on Malik Willis market, but we're unwilling to pay him a contract as large as the Dolphins offer. We already know that. We all know that.
Yep.
They were kicking the tires, I think, on Malik Willis, and they just made the decision, the organizational decision, and I think it was the right decision that that wasn't the prudent move for them right now. And we also don't know, what Mike LaFleur felt about Malik Willis, if he really wanted him, if that's his guy, if he's got his eyes on somebody in this draft or potentially in 2027.
Well, in this draft, I mean, it's talked about, people have mock drafts of specifically Charles Davis in his latest mock draft about Ty Simpson going at 3. I mean, Ty Simpson said publicly, I'm a program changer. And, my initial thoughts on that were kind of scared, like, oh boy, here we go. We got someone that claims that they're going to shift cultures, they're going to change programs and things like that. But another individual popped in my mind. Now, I'm not comparing the two, but this is just the last person that said this in my head was Tom Brady said that's Robert Kraft. I'm going to change this program for you. Thank you for drafting me. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for Ty Simpson, but I don't feel that Ty Simpson at 3 is that program changer.
It's interesting to me, and we call this silly season for a reason, right? This is the time of year where players' stock can rise or fall, and we really don't know why, right? So 2 months ago, Ty Simpson was, I think, consensus was there was nowhere near being considered in the first round. And now all of a sudden we're talking about him at 3. What happened in the last 2 months? Did Ty Simpson suddenly grow 2 inches? Did he? I don't. I mean, honestly, I'm being a little flippant, but what happened in the last 2 months that completely shifted? Now you're seeing Dan Orlovsky and Charles Davis and a lot of other talking heads on the morning shows. All of a sudden now they have him above Fernando Mendoza. They have him as the number 1 quarterback. Where did this come from? I mean, it just came out of nowhere, literally like a week ago, I think, or maybe a week and a half ago. But this volume of Ty Simpson praise it's like a giant wave crashing on the draft now, and so it's like Ty Simpson's got a great agent, obviously.
No kidding.
Because he's been getting pumped up. He's been getting pumped up. And, it's obviously it's going to benefit Ty Simpson when the draft comes around because quarterback-needy teams, Cardinals included, Jets, some of these other teams, Pittsburgh Steelers potentially, some of these other teams that need a quarterback, they're going to be now figuring out, where do I have to get to in that first round if this is really my guy? If they identify Ty Simpson really as their guy. If Mike LaFleur says, I want him, I have to have him, do the Cardinals just take him at 3?
I don't think so. Then why the Minshew thing? It doesn't make sense. Maybe you get Ty on a deal and you just keep him on the bench, learn the system, and then develop him into something. But to me, that's not the need right now. The need right now is hand in the dirt. Love that saying from you. Hand in the dirt. The Malagoa thing, if we have to kind of go stretch for an offensive lineman, okay, whatever, we'll deal with it. But some people don't even like the David Bailey talk and want to maybe think, go for Bain. In the pro days, you told me you're loving Bain over here.
Yeah. Well, I do love Bain, but I think the short arms are going to be an issue. He's going to have to He's going to have to deal with that, or whichever team takes him is going to potentially have to deal with that if he doesn't have an all rookie type season.
Yeah,
there's going to be questions that need answered in that regard. But back to Ty Simpson, I just think, and my opinion on this has changed a little bit. I think if you have identified the player that you want, Mike LaFleur as a quarterback whisperer or a offensive-minded head coach, if this is his quarterback that he wants, can you really risk trying to be smart and somehow trade up with some extra picks that you have, trade up back into the first round, and get him at the end of the first round and potentially lose him a pick or two ahead of you? Or do you just say, you know what, this is my guy, I want him, I will take him at 3?
Yeah, he's going in the first round. Ty is, for sure. I mean, definitely like you said, a quarterback needy team. In my honest opinion, I would be cool if we moved up and got him. I wouldn't hate that. I honestly wouldn't, because getting in a young quarterback on a deal and kind of keeping him on your roster, I don't hate that. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't love the idea of taking him at 3. I think I said last week that ain't happening, but there's a lot of chatter going on right now, and I got to be honest, I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't think anybody does that's outside the inner circle of the Arizona Cardinals. And in some respects, that's good because they're keeping things tight to their chest. But he's picking him at number 3 would be way above where he's ranked in terms of the top 100. Somebody in our comments, I think from last week, said you don't go buy a Big Mac for $20. And that essentially would be what that is. And you could even make that argument for somebody like Francis Mauigoa at 3. He's a guy that you probably can get if you trade back and get him around 8 or 9 or 10. Yep. He's going to be available then. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
I mean, Lance Zierlein on X put out a list of QBs with 1 year of starting experience, drafted inside the top 100 since 1999, and we're seeing some, noticeable names on this list: Mark Sanchez, Kyler Murray, Ryan Tannehill, Mitch Trubisky, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Anthony Richardson. It's kind of a gamble what you do with Ty in that regard. Do you take a flyer and go get him? I don't really know how I feel about it, but this definitely puts up my sensors, puts up my alert bells and whistles on what do you do if you end up taking Ty and what you do with him.
Yeah, and there's some other names on here: Davis Mills, Akili Smith. You mentioned Trubisky. I think the point of that post was that as a head coach, when you identify your quarterback, and if he's only has 1 year of starting experience, and we talk about this with Ty Simpson, it's a very small sample size. I think 14 games as a starter, and he was injured a lot towards the end of last year, didn't really perform well. So it's a very small sample size, and when you watch his film, you can see all the great throws that he makes. You can see the way he moves around in the pocket, buys time, and can run with the ball. The things that he can do to get in your mind, you can kind of forecast and say, this will translate. I can see this working for us. I can see this being our starting quarterback. I guess the cautionary tale in this Zierlein post on X is when you take a quarterback with only 1 year of college starting experience, it's not. I mean, that list it's not the greatest list, right? It's not a list of world beaters. It's not a list of highly successful NFL quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And as a head coach, you're tied to that quarterback. You're tied to the quarterback that you bring in, and your success is directly tied to that quarterback's success. So I won't say it's a cautionary tale. It's just there hasn't been a ton of success with these quarterbacks that really have only had one season of starting experience in college football.
Yeah. Real quick, I just want to give a little halftime report. And I didn't mention this in the beginning of the podcast, and I apologize, and I'll mention it right now. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Seeing Red Podcast, here for weekly episodes with my father and I about the Cardinals. Comment down below if you guys want to see some guests here on the show. Again, we're trying to give you the best info, best content up to date, because we're truly trying to be the best Cardinals show out there currently. And so we would love to hear some of your guys' recommendations. And what I did mention in the beginning is that, hey, at our 1,000 subscriber mark, we're picking one of you subscribers for a signed NFL football by Rob Fredrickson. So keep on the lookout for that 1,000 sub. We'll pick a winner for that.
I'll even personalize it if you want.
Oh. You get a little personalization going.
Yeah. So, okay, halftime's over. I had my sip of water. I want to dive back in because we hit on Ty Simpson at 3, the potential of that.
Yeah.
But let's kind of land back down onto planet reality.
Yes.
And where do we think Cardinals are going to go? Obviously, a lot of talk and a lot of need for that offensive line. Now, the Cardinals did address it in free agency. We talked about Sayamalu, bringing him in, and some other guys as well. But what right now, if the Cardinals had to start a football game right now, what would that offensive line look like? I kind of put together this 2-deep depth chart, and obviously left tackle Paris Johnson, Josh Fryer will be back up. Left guard Isaac Sayamalu, and John Gaines would be the backup. Center would be Froholt with Hayden Connor backing up. And then right guard would be Isaiah Adams, Matt Pryor, second string, and then Elijah Wilkinson at right tackle. And I can't even say this guy's name. Oliismika Odo, I don't know.
Confidence, Strades, confidence.
I know. You got to have confidence, but man, these names.
I know.
I can't. I
get boshed enough on the internet about it.
Yeah. I got to learn it, I guess. But so obviously they've addressed the offensive line from a depth perspective. They've addressed the offensive line. Matt Pryor kind of is like, a guy that can play different positions throughout the offensive line,
which is important.
Yeah, and it's. The right, but still, the right guard, the right side of the offensive line does need to be addressed.
It's in desperate need.
It's the right guard and the right tackle position. Isaiah Adams, they have penciled in as starter right now. I lean towards John Gaines.
Okay.
I think if you go back and watch the film from last year and really watch John Gaines and what he did when he had the opportunity, I think he at least should be in the competition for a starting position at that right guard with Isaiah Adams. Isaiah Adams is a guy that, the Cardinals drafted highly, third round. They think highly of him. But he as of right now, he hasn't really proven himself. He hasn't been a consistent football player. Sometimes he plays high. He'll get overpowered at times, but he's a great athlete, and I think he could be a really good offensive guard, but it hasn't clicked for him yet. And I see John Gaines as being a little bit more ready to go right now.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, that's kind of where I see it. So obviously right tackle is a position where I think the Cardinals have obviously identified a need. Whether or not they go and address that at number 3, with Francis Mauigoa, maybe Fano. I don't know which direction they would go in. If I think they would lean towards Mauigoa from Miami.
Sure, yeah.
At 3, but either way, I think that position has to be addressed in this draft.
And I think it will. I really do, because and I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. I kind of think about how these names are going to affect Jacoby Brissett, who in my eyes is going to be the starter for this year, and how he's going to impact on the offense, the timing that Jacoby's going to have, the type of threats he's going to be able to utilize, Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, Trey, and you have an Algier and Connor in the backfield. How is he going to hold up? Because I really want to see points on the board this year. I'm kind of sick and tired of winning football games or losing football games, and we're only having 14 points on the board. I really want to see LaFleur shine with basically nothing. I mean, not nothing, but you kind of get what I'm saying. Not with a whole ton, right? Not with the whole silver package. And so I really am kind of hoping that this line can really protect Jacoby, and we can really see yards downfield. We can see first down conversions, and we can see points on the board.
I'm going to tell you why offensive linemen love Jacoby Brissett.
Let me hear it.
It's because they know where he's going to be. Okay, that's huge for an offensive lineman because everything in this game is about angles. And if you're blocking an edge rusher and you think in your mind, you know the angle, you know where your quarterback's going to be, you know if it's a 5-step or a 7-step drop, you know what depth he's going to be at, where he's supposed to be at, and you block your edge rusher accordingly, then that quarterback should move up in the pocket naturally and complete a throw, and it shouldn't be a factor. But when you have uncertainty as an offensive lineman and you have a quarterback that provides that uncertainty, you're not sure what he's going to do or where he's going to be, that creates a lot of problems. And a lot of times you might have your guy perfectly blocked, but he ends up getting a sack, and it looks bad on the offensive lineman. And so offensive linemen love a quarterback like Jacoby Brissett. AQ Shipley has told me that. And, so it makes their job a lot easier, more predictable.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And so that, especially when you have potentially a position where maybe you're not where you want to be or where you'd hope to be as an organization at that position, you can do things to help the guy out. You can put a tight end over to that side. Mm-hmm. You can put a back over to that side, chip a little bit. Do some things to annoy that edge rusher, and give the offensive tackle a little help. Mm-hmm. But knowing where your quarterback is going to be on any given play is huge. It's a huge sense of confidence for the offensive line, and it helps guys. Especially, look, you're gonna if you're not going to go into the season with Elijah Wilkinson starting or somebody else that they get in free agency starting at right tackle, you're going to have a rookie.
Yeah,
right?
like Fano or someone like that.
Yeah, you're gonna have Maui Noah or one of these guys. They're rookies, right? They're gonna need help, regardless of how good they are. They're gonna need some help. They're gonna have some rough bumps along the way.
Yeah,
I mean, look at the Super Bowl and look at
Will Campbell.
Will Campbell for New England Patriots. He struggled a lot, and some of that's technique, some of that is. Just the other team being good and having good players, but I think when you have a rookie at that position, and it's a tough position, being offensive tackle, you're going to struggle.
Right, and while you were saying all those things about why the O linemen love Jacoby Brissett, and it kind of popped in my head. When we had Kyler Murray, and Kyler's very much of a scramble guy, our line really suffered with penalties. We really suffered with holds and even jumping off the line a little bit. And I think it's to that point is that they didn't know where Kyler was going when he was going. They knew when he was. They knew he was going because he can't see over the dang line. But cleaning up those penalties and getting this whole front on the same page, I'm going to love to see how the backfield does. I'm going to love to see how Algier does. I'm going to love to see how Connor does. And even with these two well-known name backs, I really want to see Bam Knight get involved. And I know he's probably got to earn his stripes a little bit in this offseason, but I really want to see Bam Knight come out and shine here. I was on a podcast with Uncensored Sports last weekend, and he asked me a question. He goes, give me some names. Give me some names of guys that you are looking at and you're having high hopes for or already have high hopes for. And I list off Walter Nolan, Bam Knight, and Michael Wilson at receiver. Those are my big three players I'm going to be really watching this year. And that's if Bam Knight gets some playing time, because he gives me back that vibe of when we had Greg Dortch, of when that guy's in there and you give him the opportunity, he's going to go shine.
Yeah. Robert Taylor Demerson's another guy. You know, they just when they're given opportunities, they make plays. And I thought Bam Knight did a remarkable job given the circumstances last year that he was put in, and he took advantage of the opportunity. And that's what you want to see out of a football player. You want to see them take advantage of the opportunities that they're given. Or nothing's given, obviously, but I think a lot of Bam Knight's usage this upcoming year will be determined by James Conner and really where he's at in his rehab, where he's at just in terms of his effectiveness. And so I'd love to see Bam Knight get more usage. He runs hard. He's elusive. I like a lot about him. What's Trey Benson going to be like?
That's true.
That's another guy that we haven't seen a ton of. We've seen flashes, and he's done some good things, but then he's been hurt a lot. So I think Algier is a great pickup for the Arizona Cardinals just because you can rely on him. The guy does not fumble. Almost 700 carries in his NFL career. He's never fumbled once. I think that's huge, and you can just rely on him. He runs hard. He's I think he could have been a starter for the Atlanta Falcons.
He could have,
but they got a pretty good running back starting there now. So I like that pickup, but I think the offensive line has to play better than they did last year. They struggled in run blocking. The run game was negligible. There was no running game, no running attack. Maybe some of that had to do with James Conner getting injured early in the season, but this was basically the same players as the year prior when this was a top 5 rushing attack. The offensive line was exceptional, and for whatever reason, had the same coach, new coach. Last year they weren't able to get it done, and in large part, the same players.
I have a strange hope that we're going to be seeing a lot of red in these in State Farm Stadium this year. I'm going to see a lot of Arizona Cardinals merch. I'm feeling it. I'm just in this past week, my mindset shift has completely 180'd into a forward, aggressive thinking mindset for the Arizona Cardinals. I love it. Give me the best division in football. Let's go. Give me the Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew duo. Let's go. Give me the question at 3. What are we going to do? Our offensive line's in question. Who's going to be the starting running back? Give me all of that. I love all of this. I love this doubt. I love this uncertainty that people are floating around with the Arizona Cardinals. We're going to be dead last in our division, this and that. Well, you better watch out.
Well, it's true. The Cardinals are in the basement of the division.
That's obvious.
And I think everyone can recognize that. So what do you have to do to get out of that basement? To get up and compete with Seattle, with San Francisco, and with the Rams? I think first and foremost, you have to get a quarterback. Right?
Yep.
And look, I love Jacoby. I think he's serviceable, and he'll do fine if he's called upon to start this season and ride this season through. I think he'll do as well as he possibly can. But he's not the future.
Right.
And I think as far as Cardinal fans goes, I think Cardinal fans were excited about the hiring of Mike LaFleur. I think that was something that Cardinal fans were excited about because, let's be honest, after the end of the season, the 2025 season, Cardinal fans were about at their lowest point. But I think when you hired Mike LaFleur, there was some excitement that was coming back. And I think if you get a quarterback, whether it is Ty Simpson or maybe we hold off until next year, I think you're going to see even more red shirts in the stadium because when you have a quarterback, you have hope.
That's right.
And getting out of that basement of the hardest division in football, you can't do it without a quarterback, right? You have to have that quarterback. Obviously, you got to get better at every position, and the Cardinals are addressing that through free agency and the draft. But you got to nail that quarterback, and your first and second round draft picks have to produce. They have to be immediate contributors and significant starters.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, players aside to competing in this division, is playing not just to where the best football that the Cardinals can do, but better than what Seattle's product that they've put out this past year. I think it's pushing past what we think that we can truly put out there, and it's doing way better than what the Niners have always produced the last 10 years, the Rams and the Seahawks. I mean, they're powerhouse teams, and let's compete to their level and past that. That's what I'm really going to want to feel when I walk into State Farm.
Yeah, and look, each of those teams have their challenges too. Seattle got gutted after the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
right?
they did.
They took some blows. They lost some key players, some key contributors to that Super Bowl run, most notably Kenneth Walker III. And so, they're going to have to fill those needs, and they're going to have to replenish their roster. And it's very hard to go back-to-back in this league, to be Super Bowl champions back-to-back. It's very, very difficult to do. So Seattle's got some challenges ahead for them. 49ers, they got challenges at their wide receiver position.
They're getting a little older, that team.
Getting older at some key positions. And then, obviously the Rams, Stafford isn't getting any younger. And I know he announced that he was coming back for this upcoming season, but, how many more are you really going to be able to rely on from Matthew Stafford? He's been a great quarterback in this league, but his father time is ticking.
It is. It definitely is. Any more closing thoughts that you have, Strades?
Well, I mean, again, this we talk about this being silly season, and it is. And some players you hear more about, and their stock kind of goes up, and other players their stock goes down. But you never really know what a team is thinking until draft day. And I go back to when I was drafted by the Raiders, and a lot of people are talking about maybe the Cardinals, Monty Ossenford or Mike LaFleur isn't or wasn't at this pro day. They weren't at that pro day. Why weren't they there? Why weren't they there? I got drafted by the Raiders, and I never talked to them once. And I never saw them, never even thought that the Raiders were even considering me. They were never on my radar. So just because a team maybe doesn't go to your pro day, I don't think you can draw any conclusions from that. Teams have a particular way about going about their draft process and what they do and how they do it. And we always say it. The best indicator on a football player is watching them play football.
That's right.
So,
well, we're going to figure out where the Cardinals lie come draft day, especially what they do with pick number 3 if they trade down or select someone at number 3. Guys, if you made it this far all the way to the end, thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe to the Seeing Red podcast. Give this video a like. Turn on those bells for more notifications. Comment down below any future guests that you guys would like to have on the pod. We can try and make it work. Okay, again, we're trying to bring out the best content to you guys and be the best Cardinals show on the market, hands down, no question about it. The 1,000th subscriber of the Seeing Red podcast YouTube channel will receive a NFL signed football by Rob Fredrickson, and we'll see you in the next one.